would be extremely detrimental. So, so what I teach is, you got to be aware of your emotions. So let's say you're at the trading platform, you're sitting down, and it sounds funny, but it's like, you're about to make a trade. You say, like, how do I feel right now? What's going through my head? What am I feeling? What do I think? What else is going on around my life that is going to affect this moment, right? So, you're about to make that trade, and just sit back and there's a centering I do with some of my clients, which is, you close your eyes and there's some deep breathing that you do, and it really brings you present, right? So there could be a lot of different things that are going on around your life that are going to be affecting this moment. So the key is to disconnect yourself from all those other things and just be in the present moment right now. And when you are, after that centering session, you're able to look at the computer with two eyes that actually make sense, and you're not just like going to make a trade that in an hour and a day you're going to be like, what the heck was I thinking, right? And we have this stuff all the time. When we're doing something and then after it's like, what was I thinking, right? And the answer is you weren't, because there was so many other things going on that are affecting that moment, right? So being aware of your emotions is huge, right? So it really, the key word to all this is consciousness. How conscious are you in the moment that you're making that trade? And by the way, this doesn't have to, it's not limited to trading. It could be, your work life. When you're about to say something to somebody, it's like, what else is going on around me that I might be tempted to say something like this, right? Whether it's to your spouse, whether it's to your kids, whether it's to your coworkers. What am I about to say that's going to have an effect that I might regret later, right? And that the reason we make these passive decisions when we do mess up, it's because there's other things, influences around us that are affecting our present moment, right? So if it's an athlete, again, we're going back to the athlete example. If you're at the free throw line, there could be something that's going on at home. His mom screaming at him this morning, and now he's going to miss those 2 free throws because he might not be consciously thinking about it, but subconsciously he's still crushed by that, right? I had a meeting last week, and in Alton Springs, and I walk out, and it was like right next to a park. And I walk out, and I see there's a bunch of little league games going on. So I'm like, okay, I'm a sports guy, I love sports, and I'm like, let's watch it. These kids are second grade, so it's not that entertaining, but I'm like, I'm just gonna go and really just check it out, right? So I go, and I'm standing right next to 2 parents, and I'm like, oh, so where's your kid? They're like, oh, Jake, he's in left field. I'm like, okay, like these little second graders, they get bored after 4 seconds. So this kid's like picking grass, right? And I'm watching. I must have been there for maybe a half hour, and finally the ball comes to him. Finally, and he's totally spaced out. And the ball rolls right past him and brings him like 3 runs. And they're just like, the parents are like devastated, right? Like the one chance he got, he blew it. And I just wanted to see what happens when the coach approaches the kid, right? So, because the kid knew he messed up. No one has to tell him he messed up. He saw the ball roll past him when kids are running on the bases. You got to be an idiot to think that you did something good, right? So he's already devastated, and then I'm watching, and I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen, right? And I deal with these kids all the time. And I know that the only thing you can say that's positive is something empowering. If you go tell him that something he did or something wrong, he knows, and you're just making it worse for him. And the next time he gets up to bat, or the next time he gets in the field, that's the only thing that's gonna be going through his mind, which is, last time I messed up, I know I messed up. Then the coach came over to me and told me I messed up. Like, it really makes a dent on what kind of player they are and their self-esteem. And we're talking about, I'm not talking about high school kids. High school kids, some of them, if they're strong enough personality, they can brush it off. But these kids second grade. So I'm watching, and I see the coach goes over to me and says, you gotta be more aware, you gotta be conscious of what's going on, you gotta stay focused. And you see the kid come down in tears. And I was like, oh my God. And the coach didn't even realize. I was going to go over to him after. I was like, buddy, come on. Like, you're dealing with second graders here. Like, I know you want this kid to be the next Babe Ruth, but, like, you got to have a little compassion for the kid. And I was just like, wow. And my heart sunk, and I just saw the kid pull out the tears. And I knew that, like, you knew the kid did something wrong, like I said, right? And so he comes back to the dugout, and he's like, you see, he's trying not to cry because all his friends are watching. And it's just really sad. And they're like, yeah, you can do it, And then the coach is still like looking at him with his sour face. And then he gets up to bat, and you see he looks like he has 2 left arms, right? He's just like, he's swinging the bat. And he either got thrown out at first or he struck out, one of the 2. But I'm watching this, and I'm like, this is unacceptable, right? So, this is all to show an example that when something else that can happen around our life will have an immediate effect, subconsciously or consciously, on the next moment, right? And we might try to deny it, that, oh, what happened to me this morning with a fight I got into with my kid or my spouse or my coworker has nothing to do with now, I'm fine. But really that does. And so when it comes to trading, which is really important to remember, that, just be conscious of what's going on around you. Be present, be in the present moment, and understand that what happened can have an effect, a huge effect, subconsciously. It's usually subconscious. Can have a huge effect on the decision you're about to make, which can be a loss, a huge loss, which no one ever wants, right? So really try to avoid trading, a loss in trading. There's a couple biases, we call them biases in psychology, which either help you stay away from losses or help you, or try to avoid you from getting out of the market, okay? So there's a book called Unshakable. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. You heard of the book Unshakable? Tony Robbins, I don't know if you guys know who he is. You know Tony Robbins, right? So he just came out with a book called Unshakable. And it's meant for the average 9-to-5 kind of person, where these people are investing their money and either they're doing it through a broker or not through a broker. And he goes through all these things of, trying to tell you, which brokers to use, which ones not to use, and how to really avoid as much loss as you can. When you're trying to work a 9-to-5 job and you're putting your money in the hands of somebody else, how do you trust them? Who to trust, who not to trust? Where should you put your money, where shouldn't you put your money? So a lot of the book covers that. And so he goes through a couple things. So his goal of the book is to tell you to stay in the market, and even though there's corrections, and even though there's crashes, and even though there's dips in the market, go the course, because if you pull out when you think there's a correction, that's when you usually lose money. That's what the math of marketing, of trading tells us, is that if you're looking to long-term invest and you're invested in Apple and you see a correction in Apple, it drops 5-10%, you pull out, usually the jump comes right after that. So if you just got out, you sold at the low and you're going to buy at the high, which everyone knows is a dumb idea, right? So his goal is to help long-term traders get the most out of the money, right? Compound interest and all that stuff. So for you guys, it's not so important, but he goes through some good psychological pieces of advice, which I'm gonna go through a couple of them here, which are applicable to day trading and also long-term trading. So one of them is overconfidence, which I'm sure you guys overconfidence, which is huge in trading. So people think they're better than the market. They think they can beat the market. They think they could predict the market. All these, you see all these ads all over the place. We can beat the market. We'll tell you which stocks to buy, and that's probably one of the most detrimental things to trading, is thinking that you're better than everybody else. And there was actually a study done, and they asked people. They took different categories and they said, "Do you think you're above average in this category, whatever it was, X category?" So some of them was, do you think you're above average spouse? Do you think you're above average athlete? Do you think you're above average trader? Do you think you're above average car driver, right? And most people said they're above average, right? So what happens when most people think they're above average, that average jumps up, right? And now you have everyone drop. So it comes to show that people are way more overconfident in what they think they are than they really are. So when it comes to trading, just when you stay humble and stay a student to the game, you're so much more. You're much more of a sponge to understand and educate yourself with information, as opposed to saying, "Yeah, I already know that," or "I know I'm better," "Oh, I can do it. I can sell this at this price and buy it at this price, and I know I'll make money." When you feel like you're better than everybody else, then that's what's gonna not allow you to gain the most, right? So, which brings me actually to another point, which is confirmation bias, which means keeping an open mind, right? So a lot of us, we think we found a good trade, right? I don't know how you guys find your trades. David, how do you guys pick your stocks? Is that?
where we use the systems
Okay.
to give us signals. Why do you guys laugh? We just went through this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We just spent some time last night going over the importance of waiting for the signals.
Right.
Yeah. Rather than just trading manually.
Because of which I kind of covered, which is, don't be better than yourself, right? Wait, you gotta have patience, have discipline, wait for the signal to tell you to trade instead of thinking you're better than the signal, right? So you think, I think I'll beat it, I'll get it, don't worry about it, I got this. I know that, I know what the signal's telling me, I don't know what it's gonna say, but I'll trade this and, we'll see what will happen. Not having that patience, not having that discipline is gonna mess you up, right? So there's something called a confirmation bias, which is you look for confirmation. It doesn't really apply to you guys because you guys have if you follow the system properly, you shouldn't have this issue. But let's say someone that's not following the system, right? People look for confirmation of a stock. So let's say someone says, I want to buy Apple. And so they say, I think it's a good idea, but I think it's going up or it's going down, whatever it is. And I'm going to go and trade Apple. And then he goes around looking for confirmation, or validation is actually a better word, for buying that stock. So they go around and they Google, why should I buy Apple stock, right?
Oh, they'll find it.
And of course they'll find it, because someone out there is going to tell them. And there's always two sides to each trade. So someone's going to say, oh yeah, Apple's going down, or Apple's going up, go sell Apple, go buy Apple, whatever it is.
Everybody can say no, but they can find that one person that's
Exactly.
one
Exactly.
source of
So
info.
the problem with this is confirmation bias is that when this guy's looking, all he needs is one person that he thinks knows what he's talking about to say to sell or buy Apple, and he does it, right? And now the problem with that is, if he's right, fine. Good for him. He just made a couple bucks. But the problem is now that if you don't know what you're talking about, right? So the idea here is keeping an open mind. So instead of going look for validation for a stock that you're looking to buy or sell, go get the opposite. Go say, okay, I'm looking for Apple. I'm looking to buy or sell Apple, right? So instead of going to find someone that says go sell or buy Apple to do what you want, go find someone that's experienced, not just any Joe Schmo off the street. Find someone that actually knows what they're talking about, and then go challenge them and say, why shouldn't I buy Apple? And see what he has to say, right? And if he has a logical or a good argument, and you think, oh my God, he's really right. And so now you have an open mind and you say, I want to hear what this guy has to say. And now he put some perspective into what's going on. Now you're like, okay, that's a good point. I never thought of this. This is a guy that actually knows what he's talking about. And he says that there's, Apple's going through blah, blah, blah. They want to buy Disney or whatever it is. And now maybe it's not a good idea to buy Apple. And so that doesn't mean you shouldn't, but it just means now you have perspective. And now you're able to say, okay, now I got to take a step back. And what I thought was good might not be so good. And let me go do some more research, right? So it's always challenging yourself, challenging your perspective, challenging your point of view to see the 360 of it. And if you think he has a point, but you still think that your point is better, which is fine, right? You could have an opinion. So the guy, he says, I don't think you should buy Apple because blah blah blah. You say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I think the opposite is going to happen, right? It's the stock market. Anything can happen, right? So you say, I'm going to go in, but now you at least have perspective and you have a 360 view of what's going on. So when you lose money or you gain money, you knew it was going to happen because you're like, oh yeah, that guy said this and this, or this and this happened, right? X happened. So you it gives you perspective. So instead of being closed-minded and saying, let me go find someone that agrees with me, which you don't really need because you already agree with yourself. What do you need someone else to do? If you have any self-esteem and confidence, you shouldn't need someone else to agree with you. Go find someone that disagrees with you. And if anything, the time you should be scared is and when everyone agrees with you, then you should be scared, right? Go find, if you can't find someone that agrees with you. That's confirmation bias. So then we have something called exit strategy, which is obviously, we have this in business, but also in trading. What's the goal of what you're trying to do, right? So let's say you want to buy a stock. You got to ask yourself, what do I want? What am I going to sell or buy? When am I going to get out? What do I want to gain from this trade? How much do I want to gain from this trade? When you have all these checklists down and you have all this in your head and it's on paper, you're a lot more. It's like the system, right? If you follow the system, you're probably gonna end up on top. If you don't follow the system, that's when you're entering the deep water. So here it's kind of like the same thing. What's your exit strategy? What's your goal? If you just go on in blindly, like, yeah, I'm just gonna buy Apple and ride the wave, you're putting yourself up for sale. So really having that exit strategy, saying when it hits this, I sell, and forget about it afterwards, because that's what's going to make you feel bad psychologically. You're like, oh, see, I could have held it. I told you. You look for someone that told you to sell. Oh, I told you I should have kept it and would have went for the $10. That might be true, but you're not thinking about the loss that you could incur if you didn't, right? You got to look at both sides of the coin. So having that, and it really comes down to discipline, like you said, right? Just following what works. If it works, continue to do it. And sometimes you got to be patient for that. That's right. That's what trading is. Trading is all about patience, right? So really, just being patient and being disciplined. We're saying, I know that I have to wait this long. Wait for the signal. Wait for the signal. You don't want to wait for the signal, you're going to pay the price. So wait for the signal. Be disciplined. Have that exit strategy. And another big thing is being held accountable. So let's say you're going to make a trade, and again, you guys have the signal, so it's a little bit easier. But let's say you're not sure you want to make a trade. And this really it happens not just in trading, but in everywhere. Who are you being held accountable to, right? So you're about to make a trade, and you say, if there's no one there at your side, or you being held accountable to, you'll just make the trade, and you won't think twice. You make the trade, blah, and then whatever happens, happens. And if you lose, you lose. You win, you win. If you're being held accountable, let's say you gotta pick up the phone and be like, hey, David, I'm here. I'm looking at Apple now, and I'm thinking of selling. What's happening is not only are you thinking 3 times before you sell it, you're going to be able to talk it through, and you're able to say, okay, tell me why it's not a good idea. Again, it's kind of like the confirmation bias. Tell me why it's not a good idea. Why is it a good idea? What am I not seeing in this? So you really, again, you see everything from a 360 and a bird's eye view of what's going on, and it gives you the luxury of lessening your margin for error.
That's like, don't mean to interrupt,
No problem.
but posting your trades. So when you post your trades in the chat, that's why we encourage that, so other traders will see. It's really for you when you post your trades, so that you make sure that you're posting, you're doing the right, you're following through. Because if you're trading by yourself and no one sees it, right, you'll do all sorts of bad things, right? But if you post it, so that's why Art last week, Art was like, hey guys, come on, post your trades, okay? So you guys, you want to post your trades. What I like about Art, he'll post his trades, all his trades, good and bad. So the losses, the wins, we want to do that. And it's to help you become a better trader, because you're right.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes you'll feel stupid, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's the point, right? The more stupid you feel, the more you'll learn. So if you're like, I'm posting this trade, and then if you think you might look stupid from it, it'll make you ask yourself, why did I do it, or why do I feel stupid, right? So yeah, that's great that you guys have that chat. That's cool. Another big one is acting instead of reacting, right? So again, a lot of these things don't really apply because you guys have these signals. So it gives you that luxury of margin, lessening your margin for error, because if you follow the system properly, your probability of success goes up. But even when you're about to buy a trade with the signal or without, ask yourself, am I reacting or am I acting? Am I acting out of logic and it makes sense? The signal tells me to sell, everything fits, everything works, it makes sense. I'm going to go and buy, right? Or I'm going to go and sell. Or are you saying, am I reacting to something? Again, this is all comes back to being conscious of your emotions and conscious of your surroundings and your influences. Am I reacting to something that happened to me? Or am I reacting to something that happened to me earlier today, or that just happened to me that is making me do this, right? It's almost like we get hypnotized by the things that go on in our life, right? So, something just happened, you got a ticket, and now you're mad, and you got to let out that stress. and you're about to make this trade, and you got to ask yourself, am I letting out that wrath on my trade right now? Am I about to, go buy 50 shares of this because I'm mad at the policeman? That's not fair to you. That's not fair to anybody. So, again, ask yourself, am I reacting or am I acting? Am I acting out of strength and confidence and the signal tells me to sell, buy or sell, and I'm doing that, and I'm following all the right things. I'm being patient. I did everything I should, and now you post your trade on the chat, and everything works, and you're good. Or you say, am I reacting where this might not be the right thing I should be doing? It's kind of like like pretending like you see someone watching you, right? And it sounds funny, but like what if someone's watching you? Like, imagine if David was here on my side. Would he be like smacking me if I did this trade?
Probably.
Right? So that's a great way of being like, am I acting or anything? If I know someone would say,
I think I would get smacked.
Oh, you would for sure.
So if you like David would definitely, he'd beat the crap out of me if I made this trade. That's a great way of knowing that you're reacting to something. Sometimes you don't know what you're reacting to, but that's a great way of remembering that right now I'm reacting, and I gotta take a step back again, center myself, take some serious deep breaths, close your eyes, and remember what's going on around you. It sounds funny, but it's the truth, because sometimes we're still holding on to something. The monkey from something else that just happened to us is still hanging on our back, and now that's what's affecting this present moment. So allowing yourself to just breathe it out and say, like, okay, would David hit me? That's it. And if you would, then it means you're probably making an impulsive decision, and something is influencing you to do that. It's like you're unconsciously hypnotized by the things that go on around us. So like the Little League kid, now he just got hypnotized from this coach because he knows that he did something wrong. He knows that he missed the ball. He knows he should have been paying attention. He knows he should have been focusing. He knows that he was going to go to left field, and he was going to forget that the game was even going on because he was playing with the grass. And the last thing he needed was someone to come over to him and say, buddy, you got to stay focused. Because he knows that. And he knows he's being held accountable by his coach. What the coach should have said is, Alex, it's all right. It's all right. Next time, you'll get it. It's in you. You got it inside of you. Instead of giving the person hell for it and reprimanding him for what he did, be the empower, be the coach, a real coach, not I don't know, like the coaches now in Little League are pathetic, but be a real coach where you empower the kid instead of saying, hit the ball. The kid knows he has to hit the ball when he's up to bat. Instill that confidence in him where he knows, I can do it. You have it inside of you. Let that inner power, that inner strength come out and be that person that, you really are, but sometimes you have trouble coming out. And that's true in trading. It's true in sports. It's big in sports where you're allowing that inner confidence. David knows all about this. The inner part of you to come out and to block out all those other noises. So when you're at that free throw line with 2 seconds left, and you got to make these free throws, you get deep inside of yourself and say, who do I want to show up? Do I want the weak Mendy to show up or the strong Mendy to show up, right? And it all comes down to your mindset. What's going on inside your head? So, disconnecting yourself from your mom screaming at you this morning or the Little League coach screaming at you for missing the ball, and allowing yourself to be in the present moment and say, I'm just going to knock down these free throws because that's what I know how to do. I've practiced so many times. I know what to do, and I'm not going to allow the influences from around me to affect this present moment. How's that sound?
Very nice.
Any questions, comments?
Yeah.
Sure.
The last example about this little kid in the field, I'm just worried about, is that really practical for the coach to be all empowering at that moment? Because in the game, there's a lot of emotions going on. I think it did what it did was maybe just caught in the moment when something is not going right, instead of what it did to the kid, instead of just maybe being empowering after the game when the emotions are kind of settled down. Is that really practical to be all empowering?
Okay, so before I answer that question, what would you say if you were the coach and you saw that?
I'll probably do the same thing, because it's in the middle of a game.
So I think logically
but
that's
it. Maybe depends. Maybe if you're working with kids, you might have a different approach. But if it's not,
I've seen different because my son plays Little League,
Okay.
and his mom would yell at him when he's on the pitcher's mound.
right.
What are you doing? And And I grab her and I say, keep
Shut
quiet.
up.
Keep quiet. And then I'm yelling, just keep throwing it. Don't worry. Keep throwing it. What happens is he finds his groove.
Mhm.
But if I'm not there and his mom is yelling, he just gets out of sync. And he just puts his head down and he goes into the batting cage and he just sits there.
Yeah.
And when he comes up to bat, he can't bat. He can't do shit for the rest of the game.
The only thing he's thinking about is that
His
person
mom
screaming
yelling
and
at
telling him what he knows he has to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like, imagine someone's like, you're eating, and someone's like, eat. And I'm like, I know, leave me alone. Okay? Like, I know I'm supposed to be eating. I don't need someone to tell me to do it. Just because I haven't figured out how to pick up the spoon and put the food in my mouth doesn't mean I don't know how to eat. Right? The only thing I need is someone to say, you can do it. I know you can pick up the spoon and eat it because you have it inside of you.
Right.
You've done it before. It's not just that it's your first time doing it. You have the experience. It's just a matter of you trying to figure out how to pick up the spoon and put it in the cereal in your mouth. I don't need someone to tell me to eat. I'm hungry. I know, right?
I guess it's different because it's kids and
Okay,
and
so-
grown-ups.
So, I'll tell you another story that happened. Again, I'm a big sports fan. So, first of all, there's something called trophy kids. So, if any of you guys have kids that are... You watched it?
That's on
Trophy
Netflix.
Kids? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I like highly suggest for everyone to watch it,
Yeah.
and especially if you have kids that are even like, a little bit above average.
Those parents are horrible,
So
man.
you have this. This is an example. Obviously, it's way worse where you have these parents. First of all, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on these kids to become professional athletes, and it becomes their number one job, where they're making sure their kids take their supplements and making sure their kid goes to practice and making sure all these things. And then on top of that, they go to the games, and they go and they start screaming at everyone around them, the refs, the coaches, the kids, their children, and telling them everything they know they should be doing. What does that do? It just applies more and more pressure on the kid to do something he already knows how to do, right? And what happens is now the only thing he's thinking about, instead of being present and allowing himself to knock down 2 free throws, he's just thinking about his father screaming at him because that's what he hears in the background. This heckling, oh, come on, hit the free throw. Oh, why are you missing? Come on, you're better than that. And the kid's just like, I don't need that. And there's actually, in the documentary you see, there was a kid that his parent got suspended from coming to games and the kid started performing better.
Yep.
Because you don't have that
Pressure.
the pressure. It's like a truck being applied pressure on you. How are you supposed to perform, right? So, again, for kids, definitely, I would say I would never, because even if he loses, big deal. We're talking about second graders. It's
Right,
a little bit.
right.
It's not like the championship on the line where you're winning
Right.
$100,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for kids, I would say, and even if, let's say the kid doesn't know what he should be doing. The extreme case, the kid's like, I don't know why he's on a little league team. I'm assuming that the kid knows how to play, but let's say he doesn't, right? And he's like, what did I do wrong? There's still a way to do it where it's empowering, and the kid is now motivated to be conscious the next time he's in the left field, instead of saying, getting to left field, on his way to left field, he's like, holy crap. The only thing he's thinking about is this coach screaming at him. I don't want to do this. And then when the ball comes to him next time, the only thing that's going through his head is the coach is going to scream at you if you miss. The coach is going to scream at you if you miss, and then you miss, obviously, because that's how it works. All your muscles tense up, and you're not able to make a catch. So, yeah. So you might be right in the sense where the older people might be different, but even with that, I disagree, because there was the Magic were in the I think it was either the Magic or the Bulls. I can't remember. And there was. One of these guys was an excellent pump fake. He had an excellent pump fake. So he would put up a shot, pretend he's putting up a shot, have the person jump up in the air, and then he'd wait for him to come down, and then he'd shoot, and he'd always score. So now that I think it was the Magic in the playoffs or the finals. I think it was the playoffs versus the Bulls, and there was one player on the Bulls that always pump faked, always, and he would wait for the person to come down, he would shoot and score. So there was the last possession, and I think Brian Hill was the coach at that time, and he goes over to the player. He says, this number, whatever number 28, whatever, he's gonna pump fake. They're gonna give him the ball. He's gonna pump fake. In those days, they actually knew what was gonna happen.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
But he said, we know what's gonna happen. They're gonna give the ball to number 28. He's going to pump fake because he always does. Don't jump.
I need jump.
Of course he jumps. Because he knows. He knows that he pump fakes, and he knows. So now the only thing that's going through his head is, the coach. Yeah, don't jump. Oh, what's gonna happen if I do jump? What's the coach gonna say? Everyone knows So when you have all that pressure applied on you, the only thing you can do is the opposite, because your brain doesn't allow you not to jump. Because the obvious would just stay. It's always like, don't jump. Oh, no shit, Sherlock. I know that, right? So now you go there and then he jumps and you watch it. It's funny because you hear Todd in the timeout. And he goes, he says, blah, 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 is gonna pump fake. Don't jump. Don't fall for the fake. And you see, you go like this, and the guy goes flying over. And this is like magic curse, But again, it all comes down to the same thing where you know what to do. Whether it's being disciplined. Sometimes it might just be increasing your discipline, where you might have issue just following instructions, which is fine, right? That's not the same thing as not being skilled. Being skilled and lacking discipline are two different things. So. If once you have the skill, then it's just a matter of that other gap of just got to stay the course, follow the signals, and then when you follow the signals, everything else will fall into place, and you'll be fine. Just stop trying to be better than everybody else. Stop trying to be better than the system or the stock market or than your team or your coaches or the league. It just doesn't work. Mm. So, that's what I would say in regards to Little League. When the person knows what to do, stop telling him what to do. Right. And I have such an issue with how coaches coach nowadays, which is kind of why I'm in the industry I am, where I coach the high school kids now and mental performance, where I'm just trying to change the way sports is played, because the way I see coaching is it's so broken, where you're telling the kids the obvious instead of empowering them and motivating them to make the right decision. These kids know what to do. Stop telling them what to do. Just empower them to allow them to make the right decision instead of telling them what decision to make. It's just not. It's almost like you're cornering them in to do things that you want, it's like brainwashing. It's not fair. So instead of telling the defender don't jump, you say watch him defensively. You got it inside. You're a great defender. Now he's like, oh, coach thinks I'm a great defender. You got it. I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna make sure that I block that shot, because now the coach believes in me. Instead of him saying don't jump, what that means? If you read between the lines, that means the coach doesn't trust me. Right?
Pretty much subconsciously.
Right. And he says, oh, the coach is telling me to jump. It means he doesn't trust me on my defense, and it means that he thinks I'm going to jump, and he has to tell me I shouldn't jump. Psychologically, your whole world just came crashing down. And of course you're going to jump, because you right away you go back to your default self, which is defensively, when someone pretends they're going to shoot, you jump.
And that's your subconscious.
Yeah.
Curl up in the ball. And
afterwards, if you go at the press conference, you ask him, you say, so the coach told you not to jump and you jumped. What happened? He'll be like, I don't know. I know I shouldn't have jumped, but I jumped. Why? Because I didn't have control over the moment because of what happened. Right? So that's just my philosophy.
Anything else?
Anything else you guys want to share? Don't be shy.
I've got one. Breaking through, because I know that's something you helped me with, right? And everyone here is at different levels, but about the same. Different levels of experience, but about the same. How do you break through? So wherever you are, right? How do you, and we call it resistance. We talked about it last night. How do you break through that resistance and not go back? Right? So you break through resistance, whatever that is for you. You make that leap, right? And then you continue to progress and not sleep and come down.
So before I answer that, if someone asked you that question, what would you answer?
What I would say would be to keep pushing, but that's not necessarily the case, because it's not the effort. There is something. There's a trigger there's a change that has to, I think, a change that has to take place, an understanding, an awareness of the fact that, okay, this is resistance. And I understand that it's resistance, and I have broken that resistance. And I acknowledge the fact that I've broken it, and I just don't want to go back. But that's logical. That's conscious. Your subconscious, which we can't really control, right? I mean, I think we can control it by repetition. If we do something over, and eventually we'll. But what I find is that when we break it, if we haven't done a lot of work on ourselves, right, and me personally, right, if we haven't done that work, we'll fall back to our natural state. And with trading, because with trading, the goal is to always grow, continue to grow, right? Grow our accounts, that's the goal. We all want to make more money, and we all want to be better traders. So the goal is to always, move from one lot to 2 lots to 10 lots and keep growing. So with us, with trading, there's always the next plateau, the next step. And if we don't manage that process properly, we'll keep falling back and never really grow. So how can we?
Yeah, and you're right. If you're not growing, you're done, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not
growing, most traders don't grow.
If you don't use it, you lose it, right? Yeah. That's we all know that, right? So if you're not growing, like David's saying, then you're obviously falling back. And then in regards to pressure or breaking through, usually when there's a lot of pressure, usually that's when there's about to be a huge breakthrough, so to say, right? So like if you look at a volcano, for example, when it's about to explode is when there's the most pressure, right? So you're pushing something down. The farther you push until it reaches breaking point, it's just the whole thing's gonna blow up. And that's true in a positive sense as well. Sometimes you feel like, holy crap, my life is like, again, I don't know in what sense you're talking about here, but it matters. It's applicable everywhere. Where sometimes you're like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed, and I feel like the whole world is coming crashing down on me. Usually, when that happens, you're about to enter you're breaking through. It's like growth pains, right? Your pain is about to move into another. You're entering a new level, right? And that new level, going from one level to the next, hurts. Right? So when you have that pressure being applied, it means something good's about to happen, or a breakthrough, or a growth. It's a growth that's about to happen, right? So like you take a practical example, when a mother's about to give birth, it hurts like crazy, right? And they all swear they're never gonna have another kid. But then after that, they're like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Right? So that's a good example where when the pressure hurts the most, you're about to break through.
And that's where we usually quit.
Yeah, right.
We usually give up
right before the entrance to that new level, because we can't take the pressure. But really, when we learn how to live with that pressure and allow it to sink in with us, and we get used to it, right? Uncomfortability is the greatest gift. The more uncomfortable you become, the better you get. So if you feel like that pressure is too much and you feel like you want to quit, usually you're about to enter that new stage and you're giving up. Right before. There's a famous story in this is in the olden days when they were, average people used to go dig for gold. And this is in...
We posted a thing on that,
yeah,
right?
It's in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And he talks about the guy that was digging for gold, and he's like, yeah, dude, this is bullshit. Someone told me this gold. I'm done, man. I'm going back to my 9-to-5 job. And the next person comes, and he digs 2 inches, like, holy crap, I just found a gold mine. Right? So sometimes we give up right before. Right. And what sucks? You never know when that little bit before is. Right? Yeah. The only time you know is after the fact. After you reach the goal, like, 2 inches before that, if I would have given up, thank you. I already reached my goal. I don't need you to tell me what I would have failed. But we never know. So sometimes, we give up, and you never know, because when sometimes you feel like giving up, and you keep on going. You're like, I'm supposed to be at my goal by now. Like, why is it taking so long? But right when you feel that, when you're feeling that pressure, that's when you're about to break through. That's when you just got to break that resistance, break that wall down. And the other side, you're in paradise, right? And then the second part of that, I would say, is how do you see yourself as a not as a person, but as a trader? Like, what kind of, if you try to reach a new plateau, but you think of yourself as this, still this person that's trading in one account, in a small account, where you don't see yourself as this. It's almost like grow your idea of who you are. Think big, think huge, think like I should be trading in accounts that are $1 million each, and I'm only trading an account that's $1,000 each. That if you believe yourself to be that, again, this is very mental. What do you believe yourself to be? What kind of story are you painting for yourself? If you're painting yourself a story that says, I'm not supposed to hit 2 free throws after the game because I'm a sixth man and I come off the bench and I'm in the 12th seat over. If you don't believe that you can hit that free throw, you won't, because your body tells you, oh, what do you mean? You always tell yourself every single day, consistently, that you shouldn't be hitting these free throws. Not that they tell themselves that, but because everything around them, they ingrain this mindset in their head that I'm a bench player, I'm a bench player, I'm a bench player. If you don't believe you should be a starter, you'll never be a starter because you don't believe it. So what do you believe of yourself? What kind of story are you telling yourself? Are you telling yourself that, yes, one day I will be in a mansion with my 3 Maseratis, my 4 Ferraris, and my yacht outside trading, and in charge of a huge hedge fund? Or do you tell yourself, yeah, in 5 years I see myself sitting in the same place trading the same amount in my account? Right?
He said you
But they're saying fuck that. There's actually aside from believing that you could get to where you want to get to, there's making the breakthrough. So to me,
we're trying to get Art to slow down a little bit.
Well, you don't want it to slow down. You want it to be more disciplined.
Okay.
Right? It's not about slowing down, because if you're following the signals properly, you can go as fast as you want. Because if you're following the instructions, you can build as many houses as you want as long as you build them properly.
That's true.
There's no problem with building houses, but if you're building them out of straw, but you just building, you're going to all come crashing down because they're not strong. You have a strong foundation. So to me, breakthrough, that's the first entrance to breakthrough is, who do you believe you are? Because you can't grow a single inch more than you think you can. Right? So the first part of that is, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And then what do you want to be? And then remember that pressure that you feel is the beginning of huge success. And you don't think that once you have those pains, they're not going to come back. They will. It's a second level. The levels are unlimited, right? You go from level 1 to 2, it's going to hurt. You go 3 to 4, it's going to hurt.
So embrace it. Yeah. I actually look forward to it, right?
Of course. I just wrote a post on a line on Twitter the other day. It's when anticipation of pain becomes pleasurable, you know you're in the right place. Meaning when you know pain, when you feel pain, you're like, oh, I like this. This is good. This is good. I like this thing. Right? Like when you're working out, you feel that pain. You know it's good. Why? Because you know you're getting more buff. You know you're getting more strong. You know you're getting a new core. So when you embrace that, and not only working out, we know that working out because that's we see those are visible results. But when you're feeling that in any other area of your life, embrace it. Obviously, if it's the right thing, if someone's cutting themselves because they have an issue, right? They have a psychological issue. Don't embrace that pleasure because it's not good. But obviously, in the right senses, embrace the pain because you're about to enter a huge success. And when you stop feeling pain, that's when you should be scared. Because
I guess that's what keeps you alive.
Yeah.
It's just the pain.
Well, pain definitely keeps you around. There's a sickness of people that they don't feel pain. So there's a little girl. She had this a serious disease where she couldn't feel pain, and she would bite her nails until they're bleeding, and she can she doesn't feel that. So people think pain is a bad thing, but really it's one of the greatest things we were ever given by God or however you believe the world is run. But for me, it's God, obviously. But how do you see pain and embrace that? Because that's what's going to get you to the next level. When we grow, it hurts. So if you're not growing, you're dying. If you stop feeling pain, you better watch out because you're about to. The last pain you're going to be feeling is your head hitting the coffin, right? So embrace that pain and keep on pushing. And when you stop feeling pain, you start pushing harder. Right? If you do 10 push-ups a day consistently every single day, after a month, it'll be easy, and you won't feel anything anymore. Your muscles won't be ripping, and you might be growing very, very small compared to what you could be growing if you added one more push-up every single day, where you'll consistently feel that pain, but you'll see the results. Right?
Very good.
That's good stuff. I hope you guys gained a little bit from
Yeah.
a little bit I shared today.
Yeah.
Mindset.
It's all about mindset.
Yeah.
It's all about
Mindset.
So what percentage, because we're trading physically, we're taking the trades physically. So what percentage do you think how important is the mindset? So we've got the process, right, and we're doing that. What percentage would you say the mindset, how important is that? What, 80%, 90%?
So I was just reading that they say that when it comes to trading, it's 80% mental and 20% skill.
80% mental.
So once you do know what's going on, or you have a proper system to follow where everything fits, the rest of it is mental, where it's all about timing. It's all about what's going on around you that you're selling. Why are you selling? What's your philosophy of selling or buying? So once you have a stock and you want to buy it or sell it, that's kind of that's where most of the trading is involved.
Well, with us, it would be, why don't we get out when the signal tells us to get out?
Right.
So the signal says, okay, get out. We get the alerts on our phone, and then because we've got a loss, let's say we're down a few $100s, we don't want to take the loss, so we don't get out.
Right.
And then what happens is this: let's say we have a few losses, right? And then we have the next trade. And so we don't take that next trade because we've had the previous losses.
That's the winner.
Yeah, but we don't sometimes we don't take, we'll pass on the next trade, and yes, that might be the winner that pays for all of the losses.
Right.
So I think we deal with that a lot.
So you see that the most. We see that in casinos, right?
Yeah.
Where you're playing blackjack, and you keep on playing, and you should be getting out because either you're down or
probabilities are against you.
right. And the house is always has a edge on you, and there's something called endorphins, which is a chemical inside of our brain, which tells us
Can't lose.
that, well, more than we can't lose, it tells us, it's the next one, right?
It's
So
addictive. It's addictive
of
too.
course, right? Because it's a chemical inside of our brain. So we're at that blackjack table, and we start with $1,000, and now we're down 500. We say, okay, I'll get my 1,000 back, and I'll be out. Right?
Yeah.
Well, it never works. Why? Because you always say the next one. Even if you get the 500 back, which is rare. Let's say you get the 500 that you lost. You're like, okay, just one more. And I go to casinos, and I'm conscious of this, right? So whenever I go to Miami, I go and hang out with some of my friends. We go to Hard Rock over there, and actually one of my friends is going through an addiction issue now, a gambling problem, which he's trying to get over. And then my other friend, he never gets out when he's supposed to. No, he's not addicted, but I have to I say, Ellie, let's go. I grab him with two hands and I say, we're leaving. And it becomes, you become like hypnotized and a slave to this idea where the signal says, get out. And you say, oh, I'll just, let me just take a little bit more. A couple more dollars. But, and in that book, Unshakable, Tony talks about a woman that she hit it big with a stock. Huge. She made tons of money with this stock, and she goes to a financial advisor to just help her out. I guess she got motivated to have someone help her, and this person says you need to diversify. You need to start diversifying your portfolio, and just I know this stock made you a lot of money, but it's not going to help. It's not going to be consistent this way for the long run, and you got to start diversifying. I'm not saying sell all this stock, but take some of it out and put it, some real estate, whatever it is. And she's like, no, I made tons of money with the stock. Because she came up with the stock herself. She's like, no, I made whatever it was, $1 million with the stock, and I'm not giving it up. And he said, he's the person he told her, he says, you please, like I beg you, just listen to me. He says, I'm not making this shit up. Just let me help you diversify. She says no. And the stock starts dipping, and she's like, what do you mean? Like I still made a huge profit. It's gonna go back up. It continues to drop, and obviously she's left it down, right? So we have this it's another bias actually called
Greed.
Oh shit.
I think it's called a negativity bias. No. That this it's not even like it's not even so much about influences anymore. It's real chemical in your brain telling you, we've done a pretty good job until now. Then why pull out now, right? We're winning at blackjack. Why should I pull out? Because it's a real chemical inside of our brain that's telling us to stay in. When we have to override that, and again, when you have that discipline, and like you said, when you have those signals telling you to sell, listen, because it knows better than your emotions, because your emotions are a result of the things that are going on around you, and this time it might be a chemical that's telling you to stick around, but it's not for your benefit at all. So yeah, I know that's big in trading, and you definitely found a solution to that. It's just a matter of if people have the discipline and the balls to stick with it. Right?
Yeah. So we're gonna stick with it, right, guys? Stick with the signals.
The overconfidence and the lack of discipline will kill you every time. You think you're better than the system. You think you're better than the market. You think you're better than the signals. And now it's worse than just emotions and your influences. It's a chemical inside your brain. These endorphins that are telling you to stay one more day, one more week, one more month, and it'll kill you every time. So
you can't override it.
No, because the second you start overriding it, that's you being overconfident, and it won't end there. It just gets much bigger from there. Because let's say you do stick around, and let's say you do end up making it, right? The signal tells you to sell, and you say, what, I'll stick around for a couple more hours, a couple more days, whatever it is. And let's say you do. You say, look, this is the signal, and I still made an extra $50, $100, $2,000, whatever. Now you just messed it up bigger for yourself, because now you think you're bigger than. You just proved to yourself you're bigger than the signal, and then the next time you'll do it again on a bigger account, and you'll end up losing even more. So it all starts with that overconfidence, where you stay humble, stay a student, stay a student to the game, and believe in what it's telling you. And if you think you're better than it, you're probably not. Stop thinking
guys,
above average.
I didn't pay him to say that. Good. Thank you so much.
No problem. I
Thank
have a
you.
meeting right now.
Thank you so much.
So
Thank
I'm
you
gonna
so
go.
much.
But thank you guys for the opportunity.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And if you guys ever need something, David has my number, and I'll be more than happy to.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
So are we gonna use you? Okay, these guys are gonna use you to he'll do one-on-one coaching. Okay, so if you guys, we've talked about your goals, right, and really pushing forward, you're gonna need it. And I'm an example. We wouldn't be here. I mean, you missed the beginning, Art, but I met Mendy at doing Uber, and I was going through a transition with the business, okay? And he got me to refocus on what I wanted, what I really wanted to do, my purpose, which is to help you guys, right? So what's great about him is this: he's totally removed. He can be objective, okay? So, we talk, even I might be biased because I'm a trader, right? So I might give you guys information from a trader's point of view, okay? He has no connection, okay? He's looking at you. So, so I'll give you guys this information. It's well worth it, right? I mean, I've spent half an hour with him, an hour with him, and a lot of times I'll just talk, right? And he'll just listen. This is the most I've heard you talk, by the way. right? And it just works. Yeah, I mean, it's magical what he does.
Yeah, David's left definitely come a long way, and I don't want you guys to think that he brought me in here to solicit me, because that's not at all what I came for. I came because he invited me to come speak, and I love the opportunity. And like I said, we're working on some stuff for Vegas possibly. So he's like, yeah, why don't you come in and show us what you got? So. But
I know we talk about, we have the mastermind. It's all going to be the mind. That's it. That's the process. We'll fix that. We'll take care of that, right? That's only 20%. But the mindset, we're going to do all our work, most of our work on the mindset, okay? And he's a good partner to have. He's honest, he's a good guy, and he knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. He turned me around, and I'm tough. I don't listen to anyone. I don't. You've got to know your stuff.
And by the way, that's the value. David said that when we did some work together, I barely did any talking. The magic of all that was that I didn't tell him what to do. Right? I could have said, David, this is what you got to do, and I could have been his consultant or his his manager in that sense, where instead I coached him through it, and I said, what do you want to do? And he starts talking, well, these are my goals and my dreams, and this is what I want to do, this is what I want to see. And I'm like, okay, I don't need to tell you what you need to do and what you need to think. I just want to hear what you do, and then I'll help you get there. I'm not going to do stuff for you, but I'm going to help you realize what you got to do. And so after he spoke, and David loves talking about all the things he wants to do and see, which is awesome. Like I said before, where do you want to see yourself? Where do you see yourself, and what do you see your future looking like? He had that all down very well, but it was just a matter of execution. And then that's where I came in and said, okay, so now that you finished coming from La La Land, now we're back here. What are we gonna do? He said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna bring in traders, and we're gonna show them how to trade with the system. That's good, And the next time we spoke, he's like, okay, now we're doing a mastermind, and it just every time it was something else where he didn't even realize, but he's motivating himself and pushing himself to go to the next level and execute instead of it just being talk. So it's coming down to having someone accountable, where he said, he knew I was coming in, and now he has to tell me what he's doing next and actually do it. And the next time I came in, it wasn't like, he said, so what happened with this? It wasn't going to be like, oh crap, it was like, I did this, now I'm moving on to the next thing. He was passing those levels, and he saw results. So.
And that's breaking those resistance, right?
You closed above resistance? Or
was that?
You closed above resistance?
I closed above resistance?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is this, though. The thing is this. There's always a next level. Yeah, so you close and And the work that he's done, and we'll keep working. We just continue to work, because it never stops. No. It stops when we die. Mm-hmm. Okay? It stops when we die. But we need accountability. We need someone that's going to say, hey, okay, this is when you've said it all, okay, what are you doing? What have you changed? Okay? And we'll all need that. So,
even why? Why is a great question to do. Why am I doing this? Why am I changing? Why? It's another great thing. And when you have someone that's holding you accountable like that, and the chat's a great example of that, but you have something that's you can't just go by and sneak it out, right? And that's a great example of something that's holding you accountable, where someone's seeing it and someone's going to comment on it.
When we go quiet on the chat, we know something is wrong.
And that's also it's a great thing for you guys as each other's codes to be like, hey, what are you up to?
Yep.
Just peek down their back and be like, what are you up to? Yep. And that holds everyone accountable with each other. Where you're saying, hey, Taj, what are you doing over there? He's like, well, I should have said it. I get asked a lot. What are you doing?
Thank you. I know you've got to run, but
no problem.
It's
my pleasure.
What's your Twitter handler?
My what?
Your Twitter handler.
What's a Twitter handler?
Twitter.
Oh, Twitter.
Your-
Mendy Dubov, M-E-N-D-Y. Search M-E-N-D-Y. You might.
M-E?
M-E.
Uh-huh.
Like Wendy with an M.
Okay. And you
Oh,
are?
what are you doing,
And
man?
and his website is yellow
Oh, yeah, I'm selling
yellow
that
mentality.
electronics.
You see?
I got the beast computer over here. You seen this computer?
Taj's computer.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, no problem. You guys can reach out anytime. David has my number. And I'll be more than happy to sit and talk.
And he wants to come to Vegas. So
Should we take
Nice
him to
meeting you.
Vegas?
oh, thank you.
Thank you. Nice to
Appreciate
meet
it.
you.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
Thank you.
All the best. Nice to meet you.
Take care.
So, man,
Take care.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Stay disciplined.
Yeah.
You guys will see him again.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah.